Hey everyone, I have a book review for you here. I just finished The Terror by Dan Simmons. This took longer than usual as I was reading two other books while I was reading this one. And as a consequence, I didn't get to finish it before the AMC series kicked off, but that's okay. I'll catch up on that tonight. This is my first Dan Simmons book, and after reading this one, I will most likely continue on with some of his others. I don't think all of them. Like Stephen King, there are a few of his works I'm just not interested at all in reading, so The Terror is very good. It wasn't what I was expecting at all, and I like the approach Simmons took to the material. It was a slow burn, but I don't think this story would have worked under 500 pages. The story covers the doomed, real-life Sir John Franklin expedition to find the Northwest Passage in 1845 with one major change. There's a monster lurking in the cold. The Terror is the name of a ship, along with the Erebus, I think you pronounce it as, and they are both frozen in the ice. Most of the novel, we get a great sense of what happens to a crew when the components of survival rapidly start to vanish, and then the monster attacks. Both ships have been frozen in place for 3 years, and any dreams of being rescued have pretty much faded. Much like one of my all-time favorite movies, The Thing, paranoia and distrust break out amongst the crew, and anyone who has grown up in a cold climate can understand how easy it is to relate to what the cold does to the body. It's a constant enemy, and combating it with supplies that are fully stocked is hard enough, let alone doing it when there's a monster on the loose. So the ugliness of human nature emerges during times of survival, like in this book, and, when you have a breakdown in leadership, putrid food, lack of sleep, those are all things that lead to being eaten. Simmons is extremely descriptive, but as I mentioned, I don't think the book would have been that good if he wasn't. It would have been hard to care for the characters at all. So you really get a sense of the struggle and how desperate things have gotten. And his writing is really good at it. He also does something I don't usually like in novels, and that's a series of flashbacks. But, he handles it well, and it helps in understanding the crew's own personal motivations. And, my God, you really feel sorry for one of the crew in particular. Don't want to give it away, but before that particular crew member left, he had a young lady pull his heart out from his chest and show it to him. And she didn't know if it was working or not, so she squeezed it a few times to make sure. I mean, that guy was better off in the frozen tundra with a monster. At least he stood a chance. So I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but I will say that the last 100 pages or so were incredibly imaginative. I thought that maybe a book over 770 pages might start to get a bit tedious, but it just didn't bother me, so Simmons obviously writes well enough to keep me around. I know there's a lot of Stephen King fans out there, and I'll say if you like some of his longer works, you will definitely like this one. Stick with it. The supernatural element is well worth it. My suggestion is that you spend your time only on this book, and you'll get more out of it. As I mentioned, I was reading two other books, so I had to stop reading for a bit to finish those off, and I don't usually like to do that. Anyway, good book. Lots of killings, lots of decapitations, so that'll make you happy. I'm looking at reading Summer of Night next time I read Simmons. I've heard very good things about that one, so maybe I'll read that appropriately next summer. And that's all I have for right now, and thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and later.